My twin brother slept with my girlfriend years ago. My family took his side and disowned me but are now reaching out begging to reconnect. I decided to spend Christmas with my wife instead of visiting my family, and so I texted them this. Surprisingly, they respected my opinion. After sending them the text, I got suspicious of their motives and began to do some digging into my family to try to figure out why they have reached out. What I found out was that my older brother Michael is a corporate lawyer who works for a major company in my hometown. By looking through his Facebook page, he has 2 daughters and was married to his wife in 2016. My sister Sarah appears to be married to a doctor, and they have a son together. I have a friend who lives in my hometown and has parents who are friends with my parents. When I asked her about Sarah, she told me that Sarah had divorced her first husband after he had committed mail fraud. My twin brother Casey got married to my ex Amy right after high school and together they have 2 kids together. I could not exactly figure out what he or his wife does for a living through Facebook, but judging that they bought a big house last year tells me they are not really struggling. My dad seems to be going through a midlife crisis and my mother is really into the wellness community. I then began to list the reasons of why they wanted to possibly reach out to me now. I then contacted my aunt informing her about the situation and she explained to me why they were reaching out to me after all this time. To understand this situation, you need to understand why my aunt was estranged. My paternal grandpa and grandma had 4 children. My dad was the second oldest and my aunt was the third. My aunt after college came out to her parents as bi and began dating her girlfriend. My grandparents immediately disowned her and refused to have any contact with her. However, about 4 years ago, my grandpa began to reach out to her. About a month ago, my grandpa had been asking about me and what I was doing in life and whether I was married or had kids. My aunt responded by calling my grandpa out for wanting to know about me after he supported my brother Casey for what he did. That is when the whole situation changes. My grandpa told my aunt that because I had cheated on Amy with one of her close friends, I deserved to be estranged. My grandpa is a religious nut, so he looks down on cheating. He had been told by my family that after the friend who I allegedly cheated with confessed to Amy, she went to Casey and Sarah for support and comfort. And when I found out about this, I confronted and brutally attacked Casey and Sarah. While Sarah was the one who tried to break me and Casey apart, I did not lay a finger on her and I did not brutally attack Casey. When my aunt was telling me this, my jaw dropped. I could not believe that they hated me so much that they were willing to make up a terrible lie about me and spread it around. My aunt later told Grandpa the full truth on what truly happened and my aunt told me he was shocked because he always thought Casey was a good kid. My grandpa then asked my aunt for my number which she declined to give. I figured out why my parents and siblings wanted to get into touch with me. It turns out my grandpa had told my parents and my siblings that if they did not apologize for what they did to me and have me over for the family Christmas dinner, they would be cut off from his will. For context, he is a multi-millionaire. So that is why they reached out to me, not to apologize about how they all wronged me in the past, but rather because if they did not, they would not get anything from Grandpa. What a bunch of greedy people. After hearing about this from my aunt, I decided to block all of them. Why should I respond to them? At this point all of them are dead to me. I have a wife to support after what she went through and a family that respects me and my in-laws. However, this does not end here as 3 days after New Year's Eve, I received a call from an unknown number on my work phone. When I picked up I heard my grandfather's voice. He most likely got my number from my company website. The first thing he did was apologize for not trying to get into contact with me for the past 8 years. He told me he was sorry that he could not be there for important events such as my graduation, my wedding and the birth of my daughter. I was not really close to him before, so him cutting me off did not bother me. Later in the call, he told me he was so disgusted with the rest of my family that he is cutting them off his will and adding me to it. I honestly do not know how to feel about that as the money would be helpful, but at the same time I do not want him to use this as a way to force a relationship between me and my daughter. We talked for about half an hour. The way the call went made me think that perhaps I could build a good relationship with my grandpa, but then he told me something that got me really mad. He told me that he was disappointed in that my daughter had not taken the family name. For context, after I got married to my wife, the issue of what last name to use as a couple came up. For some legal reasons I was unable to change my last name to my wife's last name, but we decided as a couple that all of our future children would have her last name. I at this point unloaded on my grandpa, calling him a senile old man and many other hurtful things, and told him to never contact me ever again. The audacity of this man to say that after what I went through is something. I will not let him use the money I receive in the will to control me. Even if I receive the money, I will donate it to a local charity, but he is a man of false promises, so this is unlikely.